2, 1. Here she is, Comfort 19 with Silicon Valley Live.
Hey, everybody.
Are you serious?
Hey, it's a dress, fuckface. Probably people on Twitter. All right. Somebody accused me of being slutty because my dress was like, I had a slut shirt on. It's like, it's a dress. It's a slut dress. If you're going to call it something, call it right. So let's get started with Silicon Valley Rewind. Man, this episode I felt like was the best episode of the season so far. I loved it because it had such a great structure. Like, it had such a good resolution at the end of it. And it also, like, it started with the chair and it ended with the chair. And I loved that. I fucking loved that. And I'm glad that you love my poster for Epic History X-Men Volume 3. It's coming out on Memorial Day, so check it out. Vimeo on demand, $3.99, an hour-long documentary all about the Dark Phoenix saga. It's going to be so sick. So, yeah. So let's talk about the opening when they're all looking at the chair and, like, Richard is just fucking losing his shit, you know? I mean, his male ego is like, he's just got to be CEO of this fucking company, you know? He's just, like, having a fucking meltdown over it. And I love when he left the room and Guilfoyle and Dinesh are sitting there just kind of contemplating the chair. And they're, like, talking about how the chair is a better CEO. And Guilfoyle says, you know, the chair never told me to build a fucking box, you know, like, he likes the chair as a CEO because he never told him to build a box. And then Dinesh was like, yeah, and it's sturdier than Richard too. Like, they're just like, oh, their burns were, like, so good. I loved it so much. But then we get into it. We see what's happened after Action Jack has left. He had this huge severance package, you know, and, like, they've just been hemorrhaging money because, you know, he thought they were going to make all that money on that stupid box. So he wasn't worried about it. And so now that they're not doing that box at all, they're just like, holy fuck, we've spent, like, almost all of our first, you know, round of money and we're super broke. So we're going to just sell everything and, like, fucking fire everybody. It's going to be, like, crazy.
Happens to companies all the
And,
time.
you know, this is something that totally happens all the time. In fact, this is something that has totally happened to me before, where you're just like, you get part of your money up front and then you're like, fuck, we spent it all. And it goes so fast, you know, and you're just like, shit, because you have to fucking live off of it as well as, like, try to pay other people and on animators and all this crazy stuff. We go broke like every other fucking month. And I'm not fucking kidding you. Like, it is a struggle to find funding to continue to do this show. Like, you know, I was reading this thing about this chairman or Congressman X, where there's this book coming out and this guy's talking about the real deal of, like, what it's like to be a real politician in the United States government. And he says that, like, fundraising pretty much takes up all of his time and that the actual, like, bills and laws and all that is like 1%, you know? And that's honestly what it feels like for doing this show as well. It's like, I have to fucking figure out how to fucking keep this ship going with fucking stupid money, like, so much. It's just such a pain in the ass. So yeah, I loved seeing the realities of this, of that they're broke. Like, what are they going to do? How are they going to figure this out? But I like seeing them get out of that stupid office too. Like, that place is so fucking awful. Like, I've been to some of these campuses that have, like, the chef and the fucking thing and the coffee shop over here and the little doodad over there with the tennis court and all this stuff. But we cut over to Ehrlich and Big Head. They're trying to figure out their fucking situation. And I love that Ehrlich starts talking about these, like, apples. He's just like, these apples are so great, you know? And Big Head's like, oh yeah, I got a fucking fruit guy. Like, of course. And then, like, Ehrlich keeps just destroying the fucking stupid juicers by just, like, fucking putting whatever he can into it, which is honestly what I would be doing with a juicer. Again, I totally relate to Ehrlich Bachman way more than I want to admit. And I would totally be shoving all the things in the juicer just to see what would be going on. Yes, Michael, please go out there, make those millions. You can incubate us in your sick house. Like, T-Bone and I will show up. We'll pack our bags. We will be there. But so, you know, the big point of contention in this episode was Richard dealing with trolls, you know, like, he's got this article and this girl was saying that his tech kind of sucked, you know, and he's just, like, freaking out over this troll, you know, and it's just like, stop, Richard. Like, you don't worry about it. Like, don't worry about what other people are saying and just focus on your fucking job. Like, you're not a PR person, like, you're not whatever, but he just can't let it go. You know, he can't let it go. I can't believe that Lori allowed him to, like, talk to this reporter. Okay. Because if I was her, I would never let Richard in front of any fucking reporters ever. Well, I would after we get everything up and running and going. Like once you have your product and it's fucking killing it, yeah, have him put him out there, you know. But right now, like he's in a weird fucking place and he's emotionally distraught, you know. And Lori, you know, not kind of being Aspergery, she doesn't understand that, I think. So like, I don't know, she kind of made a mistake by letting him do that. I loved seeing the sale that's going on where they're selling all their crap off. And Jared just had the best lines. I mean, this was such a great Jared episode. I love that he was saying that, you know, he's like, oh, I've done this before. This is my wheelhouse. Like, I've done a lot of estate sales, you know, and they're like, estate sales? And he's like, yeah, I have a lot of elderly friends. You know, it's just like, what? You're selling off all your dead old friends, like, stuff all the time? And when he was selling that chair to that lady and he was just talking about how great it was to sit in the chair and how he has a very delicate posterior, and that so much so that his grandma used to call him a glass hole. I was like, I was like dying laughing. Glass hole fucking was so good. Carlos, I cannot imagine Big Head as CEO, nor do I want to. Like, that poor fucking guy. Like, he's so cute and such a sad little bunny. I'm surprised, though, that Ehrlich hasn't completely taken him over yet. But then we get to Richard, and, you know, I knew it. I knew what he did. Like, as soon as he walked in there and he started freaking out, I knew that he was talking to the wrong motherfucking person, because that's exactly what he would do. And I was just, like, yelling and, like, I had a clipboard because I take my notes. So I was watching the show and I was literally doing this. I was like hitting my fucking head with this fucking clipboard. And I could not with Richard. Like, I was so mad at him for doing this. It was just like, oh. And then on top of this problem, you also have the problem of the hard drive, you know, missing, where they accidentally sell the hard drive with like all their software on it, you know. And I did appreciate in this episode that, you know, while you have Richard's fuck up and then you have, you know, Guilfoyle and Dinesh's fuck up, and they all keep it from one another. Like, everyone's kind of like keeping it from one another. Like, Richard, after he fucks up, the PR lady was like, tell me that went great. And he's like, yeah, it went good, you know. And then Guilfoyle and Dinesh are like not copying anything until they can like figure it out. I thought that was really great writing. Yeah, Ron, he's so frustrating to watch. You know, he's just so frustrating to watch. And I'm constantly like, Richard, why do you want to be CEO? Like, is it a power thing? It's just a power thing to piss on your territory, because it's like, you're not good with business and people. Like, that's what being a CEO is all about. Like, you should be the CTO, the tech guy, because that's what you're good at. Like, focus on your strengths. If he wants to protect his products, he should stay the fuck away from it. Okay, that's how you should protect his products, by knowing he's retarded and like just not dealing with it. Another great Jared line was when he randomly said, you know, have you ever seen a naked dead person? Like, randomly. I loved that one. When they're leaving the place, they see the Zen gardener too. The Zen gardener was great, where they say that Jack had just paid this guy all up front, and he's so peaceful just doing this Zen gardening in like the middle of like an empty fucking building, and they're just gonna let him do it, you know, like they're just gonna let him go. I thought that was really adorable. So as frustrated as I was with Richard for, you know, the reporter incident, I was so glad that they resolved it. Like, it was so, like, as frustrating as this show is, like I get like my heart rate, like I get so stressed out. And like, so I just love that they resolved it with, you know, Big Head. He's finally over there. And he's like, oh yeah, that time that Gavin scrubbed the internet to get rid of like all the bad mentions of Nucleus, you know. And I was like, oh, thank God, like they fucking figured it out and they brought him over there. I was just like, so happy. I was so happy. I was just like, whew. And then also the resolution of Dinesh's and Guilfoyle's conundrum, where, you know, Guilfoyle's just like, we've got to take care of this, you know, where does this guy live? And he shows up with the Geek Squad, you know. And I loved the old man was like, oh, you're not wearing your shirt, you know, because like old people, like they know that Geek Squad, because like they don't know anything about computers, but they know that guy with the shirt, and that's what they can recognize. And like his excuse was like, I spilled coffee on it because I'm such a nerd. It was just like, I loved it. I was laughing so hard. And then he had the fucking like, just like, it was so good. I'm so glad he destroyed that fucker. And Dinesh was so bummed, you know, he was just so bummed. But yeah, I mean, that is a good question, Rick, is will Big Head lose 20 million for talking about Hooli? But the thing is like, is an NDA, I mean, I know he's got an NDA that he signed, but at the same time, I mean, an NDA versus like doing something that's really fucking illegal. Like, you know, I feel like what Gavin did was more illegal than what Big Head did. So I'm not sure that like Hooli's going to be able to take that 20 mil from him. But we'll see. I mean, that'll be an interesting thing. And it would also be funny because Ehrlich would get fucked over too. Although he's made so much money though. I don't know. Maybe they'll just all be poor again pretty soon. I mean,
it's all gonna go back.
It's all gonna go back. They're all gonna go back to just being in that fucking house and being poor and broke, you know, like that seems like where it's going. And another Jared hint in this episode was he was talking about is once we find out that Richard is the CEO, you know, and he's like, oh, I actually did do it, you know, and I loved, let me go back a little bit, you know, Lori had told Richard, I have a plan, you know, and like that bitch is smart. Like she knows what she's doing. Like she's a smart cookie. Why don't you just trust your lady, you know, Richard, like just trust your lady. I mean, like, yes, she could have told him the plan to begin with, you know, and maybe that's on her a little bit, but at the same time, like, trust her, okay? Like, just trust her. She knows what she's doing. Don't mess it up for everybody. And so we find out that Richard is the CEO, and Jared starts like saying, my captain, you know, it's like enough of these maritime metaphors. But then Jared's like, oh, it could be the best birthday wish ever. And they're like, it's your birthday? He's like, I don't know. Like they locked my records away. Like CPS locked my birth certificate away. And it's like, wait, Child Protective Services were involved? Like, and he also mentions his dad, like finding his dad in a militia in the Ozarks. So we also have the whole German thing going on. So did Jared grow up in like a neo-Nazi household or something? Like what's going on with poor Jared? Like he is just one of the best characters. Recently he did an interview on a talk show and they were asking him where he gets this character from. And he was saying that he gets it. It's like a very exaggerated, extreme version of his mom, where she's like super self-sacrificing, like a lot of moms are, and they'll like go out of their way to, you know, make themselves uncomfortable just to make other people comfortable. And I love that. That's such a great inspiration for this character. It really comes through. Carlos, the relationship of Jared with Richard is similar sometimes to Smithers and Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Absolutely. Like I love how in love Jared is with Richard and this, and he really believes in it. And he's just like there. I wish I had a Jared, to be quite honest with you. I haven't found a Jared yet. I don't have a Jared, but you know, if anybody wants to be my Jared, like let me know. I'll be taking applications. We can't pay you and you can sleep in the garage or something. I know. Well, Jared, yeah, poor Jared. But in the end, we have, I love that they did keep one chair for him. That was really great. I love how that tied up the whole episode. And then when they're doing the meeting with all their different coders that they like outsource to, and they did figure out their problem. They did figure out how to get past the fact that they don't have a lot of money. I loved that. I thought that was a really great, amazing way to end the show. It was such a great in-episode resolution. I'm so glad that I got a resolution. Not even that they got a resolution, that I got a resolution because I needed it because like this episode was given. So yes, that's it for the Silicon Valley deal. Does anybody have any questions in the chat log? We're not gonna be taking any callers today, but if anybody has any questions or comments, I would love to see them. I'm so excited to see what happens next with the rest of the situation now that Richard is back in charge. I mean, even though Richard, I will give Richard this. As much as I criticize Richard, he has been showing more backbone. He has been like speaking up and like doing a little bit better this season than he has in the past. He is learning, you know, he just needs to kind of speed up that learning a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because like Richard, like, you know, you're killing me. You're killing me. So let me go to the questions. Ron says, as someone who works in software development, outsourcing your coders is going to end badly. You know, I was thinking about that, Ron, because yeah, like what if these guys take this? I mean, like you get what you pay for. Okay, Ron. Okay. Like I could see that. I don't know much about coders, to be quite honest. I know a lot of artists, you know, I don't know you coders. I know some engineers too, but I don't, you know.
We've never outsourced editors.
I haven't. Well, yeah. I mean, we can't even find outsourced editing. Like that's, I mean, I don't know about coders, but I do know about editing. And God damn it, finding a good editor is just like fuck, man, like we've tried a bunch of people out, and like when I'm a faster editor than they are, and like I don't edit the show, okay? Like I mean, I'll do some bitch work and help replace some assets and put some fucking boxes around things, but like I ain't doing no motherfucking editing. But I see these kids coming in, and like it's like these interns and stuff, and it's just like, dang, dude, like I'm like not good on the computer, and if I'm better than you, you know, maybe you shouldn't be editing. I don't know.
Film schools today.
I know, film schools today. You know, it's just all about practice. You just got to do it. You just got to do it. Got to do it a lot. Presley, I see that you have a situation. You said, do you have a CEO chair? I do not have a CEO chair. However, Director T-Bone has got like 5 fucking chairs. Okay, this guy's got so many fucking chairs. He's got a ball chair, the IKEA chair, the stool, the IKEA pop stool,
Director's chair.
the director's chair. Is there another chair?
And then there's the table.
Oh, there's the old chair that we got rid of. And then the table itself, we just bought this desk from IKEA that, okay, this is fucking sick, you guys. Like if you guys are editors or you're at your computer a lot or coders or whatever you guys are doing, if you're at your computer a lot and you don't want to sit down all the time, because this is my thing. I was like, you can't sit in a chair for 5 hours. It doesn't matter what chair you're sitting in, your ass is going to hurt. Okay, so you got to stand up. Yeah, so all the chairs suck. Okay, so there's this desk and it goes up and down. It's like electronic, you know, and it was like, I don't know, $600 or something like that. It was not a bad deal at all, and it's so fucking awesome. And T-Bone loves it, and now he doesn't have back pain because he's not having to sit down all the time. He can go in between sitting and standing while he's editing all this crazy. It's gonna be out on. It's gonna be out on Memorial Day. Let me get to the chat log here, Denise. Do you think they'll have to go back to making the box just to bring in some money? I don't think so. I think they're going to push forward. I think the box is dead. I'm glad the box is dead. Put the box in a box and bury it like forever. I'm so glad that they finally just get to do their thing. So yeah. Anyways, that's it for Silicon Valley wrap up.
One more ad, 1 second.
So we're getting ready to take 5 right now. Don't forget, Epic History X-Men Volume 3, The Dark Phoenix Saga, on Vimeo on demand. We've been working on this bitch for a fucking long-ass time. It is fucking so good. Like, I cannot wait to show you guys. Like, I'm so excited for it. If you want to get the real X-Men, you want to get the Chris Claremont fucking era, check it out, Memorial Day, $3.99. Bullshit movie news coming up next.